Well, thank you very much again for that call on the Orioles and the Athletics. And here we are again, the Blue Jays and the White Sox facing off after the Canada Day matchup yesterday. And in the booth joining us here today for this game in downtown Toronto at the Rogers Centre is Michael. How are you, Michael?
I am doing well. Excited for a very good matchup. We're pitching matchup two very young teams. Lots of guys who are going to be future stars or even current stars in the MLB. So it's going to be a great matchup. Both teams having, kind of surpassing expectations, and big game for both of them here as they're both fighting for a playoff spot. White Sox 1 game back of division lead and tied for the wild card, and the Blue Jays been hot as of late, but still pretty far back to the division.
Yeah, for sure. The Blue Jays have been on a roll as of late, but it hasn't been quite enough. They've kind of stayed where they are in their division in the AL East, but looking to climb a little bit today, keep that hot streak going as Tanner Roark throws the first pitch of the game, a swinging foul from the batter, Leury Garcia, and just like that, we're underway.
Yeah, and as you see this in throwback uniforms, the White Sox uniform almost reminds me of the Phillies powder blue uniforms, which I really like.
Powder blue making a comeback this year, and in a few years prior, of course, the Blue Jays bringing their new blue, powder blue jerseys back to prevalence. We've seen them a few times this season. That one shot down the left field line. It gets down and it's fair. Leury Garcia is rounding second. He'll stand in there with a double to lead off today's game.
And the White Sox lineup, ever dangerous. You see Garcia, one of their great hitters, and just slaps it down the line. And with his speed, you're going to get a double every time.
And speaking of speed, Tim Anderson now up to bat, hitting .351 this year, and the majority of those hits, and of course the most exciting of those hits coming as of late. He is currently riding a 37-game hit streak, one of the top 10 longest in Major League history, and looks to extend it today. In his first at-bat yesterday, he extended it. So we'll see what he does here in the first at-bat of today's game.
Yeah, well, I don't think he'll break the record because at the time he'll come in as a pinch hitter. Just an amazing streak for him, and another great season for Anderson.
Count is 2-1.
That one missing outside, 2-1. Anderson sending that one foul to even up the count. Tanner Roark on the mound for the Blue Jays, an ERA of exactly 3 so far this year, as this one's popped out into right field. Teoscar Hernandez throws the ball in, and that's the first out of the ball game for the Blue Jays.
And Garcia decided not to run on that. Nice arm by Hernandez. Don't want to risk it with a lot of great hitters coming up, and you're already in scoring position as well, and you're going to score basically on any single unless it's so hard hit that it's almost immediately in the glove off one hop.
And of course, as you mentioned, the White Sox with lots of great batters as the top of this lineup, as the throw back to second base isn't in time. And this guy up to bat, Yoan Moncada, is struggling as of late. We saw the numbers flash up on the screen, 4 for 32 in his last few games. So he's struggling, but that doesn't degrade the value of some of these guys in the top part of the White Sox lineup. And of course, the guy coming up after Moncada is none other than Edwin Encarnacion.
Yeah, and Moncada still in the 3-hole despite his struggles. Commander showing confidence in him despite this. A young player, he'll get it back together. He's still having a pretty good season.
It's now 2-1 on Moncada. Of course, Moncada, the former Red Sox, played 8 games with them in 2016, so a little bit of familiarity with the AL East, but of course only 8 games, so not a lot of experience here in the AL East. Quickly shipping off to the White Sox early in his career. Chips that one away, 3-2.
Yeah, and in terms of experience, I mean, Roark, I believe he was only 1 game against the White Sox pitch in his career, so he also does have experience against his team, although most of these guys are new anyway.
Yeah, you mentioned how young this White Sox team is. Later in this lineup, we'll see Luis Robert come up. He's batting ninth today. He was ranked the #2 prospect in all of baseball heading into this year by Baseball America, #3 by MLB Pipeline. So he's a guy that is part of this new crop of talent that the White Sox are looking to rely on so much. And same goes for the Blue Jays, but these are two exciting young teams as Tanner Roark gets the strikeout of Yoan Moncada, his first of the game and the second out of the first inning.
Perfectly painted right on the inside corner. Moncada not very happy with it, but it looked like it did cross the plate on that pitch.
And it brings up the guy we were talking about, Encarnacion, who swings on the first pitch, sending it foul.
And breakout season for him. I mean, he's never hit above 290 in his life. He's hitting 324. I don't know if it'll stay that much, but it looks like he's gonna maybe his best season ever. He's still keeping the power up as well.
Grounds this one on the left side of the infield, but Guerrero with a quick grab will end the inning. So just like that, there's a double and nothing more for the White Sox. We head to the bottom of the first. The game is tied 0-0. Gio Gonzalez making the start for the White Sox today. His 18th of the year, a pretty good year for him this year. 3.31 ERA over just over 100 innings, and you'll see his whip there, 1.32, a little bit high for a guy like Gonzalez, but nonetheless getting the work done for the White Sox, and he'll be facing Bo Bichette leading things off.
Ball one, no strike.
Bichette with a stellar day yesterday, 4 hits, 2 RBI, and 2 of those 4 hits being a double and a home run. He was a player of the game yesterday for the Blue Jays in their 4-1 win over the White Sox. Sends this one right to the first baseman. Very similar to the line out that ended the last half inning. Bo Bichette lining straight out to the first baseman. And it brings up Vladimir Guerrero Jr.
And Gonzalez looking to become the team leaders and wins, currently tied with Giolito, and he's up there in the league overall as well.
1-0.
Guerrero didn't have a hit in yesterday's game. Takes that one, 1-1.
Yep, that ball went out.
Guerrero hasn't shown the power this year, but is still hitting for average, 262 on the season so far. Swings at this one, pops it up into shallow right field. The second baseman comes over, makes the catch for the second out.
2 quick outs for Gonzalez. You want to get through that first inning quickly, kind of just sets the tone for the rest of the day, and so far he's done that, but facing a pretty tough hitter in Travis Shaw.
Yeah, the top part of this Blue Jay lineup is tough. It wasn't tough earlier in this year, but this team is heated up as of late. As I mentioned, they are 13-4 in their last 17 games. And that hot streak, they're looking to continue it today, but it's because of the hitters in this lineup. The pitching has always been there all season, but as of late, the hitting has come there. Bo Bichette has heated up a little bit. Travis Shaw, who is grounding this one to the pitcher and will end the inning, he's been heating up as well. So the Blue Jays have been getting a lot of offensive production from the guys at their top of the order, and that's pretty much the main reason why they've rebounded as of late.
Yeah, and that makes sense because you think about their starting rotation, it's limited. You got 2 really good guys in Ryu and Roark. After that, it's kind of question marks. Bullpen, you have Giles, but the rest of it, you kind of don't know as much. So the hitting has been a big deal because when your pitchers may falter, now you got this lineup that can score a lot of runs in a game.
Although I will say the starting rotation for the Blue Jays has been a pleasant upside of this team. You have Hyojin Ryu, who started yesterday, brought his ERA down all the way to 1.63, which is the lowest in the American League by far. And you have him followed by Tanner Roark, who's starting today, whose ERA is right around 3. And if you told me, last year whether I could get a pitcher for what Roark is signed on, which was a 2-year, $24 million deal, and have a pitcher who's at a 3 ERA, is 7.3 record, although of course records don't really matter, I would have taken that as an ace of our rotation. But you still have a pitcher who is half his ERA in front of him. So the pitching has certainly been a pleasant upside of this team so far. Jimenez fouls that one off, 2-2.
Yeah, you talked about the starting pitching. The question is, who's going to be that third guy that you're going to rely on? Is it Pearson? Is it Anderson? Someone else we haven't seen yet?
And Jimenez swings and belts this one to deep left field, and you can kiss that one goodbye as Jimenez rounds first. He rounds second with a 410-foot home run here in the second inning, and just like that, it is 1-0 for the Chicago White Sox, who get a quick lead off the bat of Eloy Jimenez.
And Jimenez looked like he was expecting that high pitch. You try to sneak it past them, but if they're timing that high pitch, that's going to be hit very far, and it was hit very, very far, over 400 feet. And, this White Sox lineup dangerous from top to bottom, so Roark's got to be careful when throwing those high pitches, to kind of make sure to mix it in enough, the low pitches, that they're not going to be guessing it.
Count 1-0.
And Jimenez didn't have a hit in yesterday's game. The Blue Jays were successful against him, but not the same story in today's game, getting a home run in his first at-bat and putting the White Sox on the board as Yasmani Grandal, who is second in All-Star catcher voting in the American League, steps up to bat. Swings at this pitch, sends it into center field. Randall Grichuk will play it on the bounce, and Grandal will hold at first.
And you can see why they gave Grandal all that money. He's a great hitter. He's a great catcher overall. Kind of weird with James McCann on the bench. Maybe a trade target. Maybe get a back of rotation starter or reliever for him. But nothing concrete has developed yet. But it seems like the White Sox could trade him down the line. It doesn't make really sense having 2 all-star catchers on a team when there's a lack of great catchers in the league.
Abreu swings at this one, and he's waving it fair. Will it stay fair? And it does. It's another home run here for the Chicago White Sox in their second inning. So it was a home run from Jimenez, a single from Yasmani Grandal, and then a home run from Jose Abreu. And just like that, the Chicago White Sox now up 3-0. Tanner Roark struggling on the mound here in the second.
And you can tell the White Sox just don't want to lose this series. They're just crushing the ball and right down the middle, a little bit inside, and absolutely hammered by Abreu. And now the White Sox got a 3-0 lead, and you got a great pitcher on the mound. So trouble early for the Blue Jays.
And Roark has done a good job this season in, allowing base runners, as this one is sent into deep center field, but Randall Grichuk will shift over and make the catch for the first out of the inning. And as I was saying, Roark has done a good job this season of, allowing base runners, but stranding them a lot of the time. He's had a lot of starts where, he'll give up 7, 8, 9 hits, but only give up 1 or 2 runs. But today, that's just not the story for him. He's given up a lot of long fly balls so far in today's game. That fly ball pop out to Randall Grichuk, he getting lucky and not having all the contact on that one, but not getting lucky on 2 of the other fly balls we've seen so far today and having them hit for home runs. This is another deep fly ball. Randall Grichuk is running back. He's on the warning track, makes the catch, and it looks like Roark is struggling with the long ball here today.
Lots of big fly balls hit off him, and I think he's just got to shake off this inning because you want to limit the damage, not give up more runs, let the offense kind of take control of this game. But not a great start for him, not a great just inning in general.
Well, it brings up the top of the lineup again for the White Sox. Leury Garcia.
Already behind 2-0 on him. Not a good start. You don't want to get another base runner on for this middle of the lineup.
2 balls, 1 strike.
Garcia, we saw, hit a double his first time up, so he has the ability to hit the ball. He has a .254 batting average so far this season. Takes a strike there, 2-2.
I count this ball.
Danny Jansen is behind the plate for the Blue Jays today. He has been playing well as of late, and they are going with a hot hand in today's game. Reese McGuire staying on the bench.
Nope, that's inside. Ball 4.
Taken inside for a ball, so he walks the leadoff batter, Leury Garcia. And even with 2 outs, Tanner Roark continuing to struggle here after giving up 3 runs early in this inning.
Yeah, now you got Tim Anderson up, and he has power as well, even though he's more known as a guy who hits for average. So, we've got to be careful here.
What an average it is this season. I know I mentioned it before, but .350 batting average today after his flyout in the first inning, and still looking for that elusive hit today, and will look to extend his hitting streak to 38 consecutive games as Tanner Roark already at 41 pitches here in the second.
Yeah, and that's not good. You got 40 pitches, and it's that's not good pace. But if you could limit the damage here, other innings, you hope to get like 15 or so pitches per inning. You could go 6 or 7 innings, but just has to get out of here.
And like I said, he's shown the ability to, put rough innings behind him in his past starts. So we'll see if he does it today, as this one's skied into deep right field. Teoscar Hernandez is going back. It gets down. And rounding third, heading home, is Leury Garcia as the White Sox tack on another run here in the second.
And the Blue Jays not your second best starter. You don't want terrible. You don't want this. Anderson just crushed it into the gap, and he kind of knows. You just have to wait for the pitch, because Roark hasn't thrown anything convincing these hitters that they need to be aggressive. They just wait for their pitch.
Count 1-0.
Yohan Moncada struck out in the first.
Oh, that's off the plate.
Takes that ball outside, 2-0, and again, Roark falling behind on this batter.
Moncada, part of that Chris Sale trade that then the White Sox have a good amount of prospects, kind of spurred by Sale ripping up those throwback jerseys. Matt Albert's happy to pitch, but he was also a possible trade target anyway, but that kind of sealed him being traded.
Ball inside.
Now 3 balls and 1 strike to Moncada with a runner on second, and the damage might not be done yet for the Blue Jays. They have a relatively well-rested bullpen, only used Anthony Bass and Ken Giles for 1 inning each in yesterday's game, but losing Roark early in the game, as he's already given up 4 runs and 47 pitches, would be a devastating blow as they look to climb in the AL East.
Yeah, likely they'd put in Barucki, but I'm not 100% sure. So it could be someone else as well.
It's grounded to the left side of the infield, and they get the out at first by Step with a good throw from Bo Bichette. But the White Sox adding 4 runs to their lead here in the second with 2 home runs and a double from Tim Anderson to extend his hit streak to 38 consecutive games. And now the Blue Jays are in a big hole here as they step up to the plate in the bottom of the second.
And Gonzalez, you just want to shut down the Blue Jays hitters. For the Blue Jays, you just want to kind of scratch one across at least, not making it look like you're kind of laying down and giving up. You have the middle of the lineup to do it, so you have enough hitters. Gonzalez is a pretty good pitcher, one of the better ones in the American League.
Gonzalez, a guy who throws a changeup 31% of the time, also works a four-seam fastball, sinker, and a curveball in there, and draws comparisons to Hyunjin Ryu for his movement and velocity as this one is skied into right field. The right fielder, Nomar Mazara, is under it, makes the catch.
That is good.
Yeah, and Gonzalez, he's been in the league for a while, kind of like up and down seasons. You can't say he had almost a prime, because it seems like he had a few bad seasons. Now he's back to being good again. So just a very interesting career for him all around. Sometimes he's solid two-pitcher, sometimes he's kind of a liability.
And this one taken deep into left, but again caught on the fly by the left fielder Eloy Jimenez, and Rowdy Tellez is retired.
It's where you want to hit it with the kind of outlet shifted over, but kind of just hung up long enough that Jimenez would be able to catch it. But still a nice contact, kind of something to take into account next time, as you can hit it he was able to hit it pretty well off Gonzalez.
Now Lourdes Gurriel Jr., who is hitting .351 in his last 9 games, and he had a home run yesterday. .1-0 pitch taken deep, but foul. Or excuse me, that stays fair. Lourdes Gurriel Jr. tricks us with a ball into the corner, and it gets just deep enough, just fair enough for a 361-foot home run. And you mentioned the Blue Jays slowly chipping away at this White Sox lead, but just getting one there might be what they need to realize they're still in this game.
Yeah, it looked like it was hit far. I thought it was going to go foul. Kind of a weird camera angle on that one, but just made it out of the ballpark. Kind of just hooked in there. And now the Blue Jays down by 3, a little bit more manageable deficit. And, also a confidence boost for this team, maybe shift momentum a little bit.
Now Randall Grichuk up to bat. So Lourdes Gurriel Jr., one of the biggest power hitters on this team, following Teoscar Hernandez, who leads the team with 17 home runs. Lourdes Gurriel Jr. tacking in another home run, his second in as many games. And Randall Grichuk can drive the ball out as well, 131 career home runs over 6 years. Grichuk has cooled off a little bit after his blistering month of June, and he, of course, cooled off towards the end of that, but still was a key part of driving this Blue Jay offense towards the bottom of it as he skies it deep into left field. Left fielder's going back, and right on the warning track, Eloy Jimenez makes the catch to end the inning, but not before Lourdes Gurriel Jr. sends a scraper down the left field line, gets it out, puts a run on the board for the Blue Jays.
And 3 long fly balls for the Blue Jays to end the inning. 1 home run, 2 flyouts, 1 to the warning track in left center. So, Blue Jays are have been able to hit the ball a little bit this game.
As have the White Sox. A lot of deep fly balls for both of these teams. The White Sox, of course, just getting a few more feet where they need it to get the ball out. But again, the Blue Jays looking to chip away at that as we see Rick Renteria on the bench for the Chicago White Sox. Edwin Encarnacion will lead things off this inning.
Encarnacion didn't, kind of sneaky free agent signing, didn't command that much money because how he ended last year and his kind of less versatility, but he's been solid at that DH position, and beating out a couple of very strong hitters for that spot.
One of the best offensive hitters in his prime, and even though he is 37 years old, you look at his batting average this season, it's .324. It's the highest of his career to date. His highest batting average previous to this year was in 2007 with the Cincinnati Reds when he hit .289 in a full season. I think he played about 140 games that year. So he's really showing up this year, even at the age of 37. swings at this one, sends it up the middle. Biggio on the shift will throw it on to first in time for the first out.
And you got players like Encarnacion that kind of like their game transcends no matter how old they are. You think of Nelson Cruz, you think of Adrian Beltre, you think of even Miguel Cabrera. He's not as good, but he's still in the middle of the lineup for the Tigers. A lot of those guys, even though maybe they're not as athletic as they used to be, they still can hit the ball pretty well. And Encarnacion having almost a breakout season.
Yeah, I think Robinson Cano is another guy who pops into my mind as someone who has the age but also has the talent on his side, as this one's popped deep into center field for Randall Grichuk. And again, those long fly balls against Tanner Rourke. But yeah, Robinson Cano, he's 37 years old, but he's still kicking. And these guys are guys that have kind of sneaky talent even in their increasingly elder age for Major League Baseball.
And now with the universal DH being in both leagues, at least for this year and possibly in the future, you're going to have these guys even have longer careers because they don't have to play the field.
Guerrero on the shift in the position of the shortstop makes a strong throw over to first, and that ends the inning. So the White Sox go down in order after a rowdy top of the second, and we're heading to the bottom of the third now. Biggio, Jansen, Bichette, 2-0.
And Biggio having not a great season, but he did have a nice game yesterday, and he's looking to turn the season around because he was great last year, and it's been a big struggle for him this year, just the entire season.
No, inside.
Taking your first pitch ball there, and yeah, Biggio has struggled this year for the Blue Jays. They've had pretty much competent production from every other part of their lineup except for Biggio. And in fact, when the Blue Jays went on their trip into the National League, when they were playing the Brewers and a few other teams, they sat Biggio for almost the entirety of that trip because his bat was not worth keeping in the lineup.
And you got a few guys who can play second base off the bench, most notably Joe Panik. So yeah, Biggio's fighting for a spot, and if he doesn't turn around, they may end up substituting him permanently.
He sends this one into shallow right field and almost beats out the throw at first, but just about a foot behind the throw from the second baseman, Lurie Garcia, and Biggio retired, and now Danny Jansen up to bat.
And second baseman, you have to have a strong arm on that. You don't need it for most plays, but for those types of plays, when you're facing a fast runner, you're going the opposite way, you need to have a good amount of arm power.
The big guy 73 in our Twitch chat. I didn't get to chat or catch the trivia question for today, and I think you just sent the answer, but if you could send the trivia question again, it would be much appreciated. I see Mike Flanagan as the answer, and Mike Flanagan, fun fact, is the uncle of my high school guidance counselor. Of course, he pitched for the Blue Jays for a few years, also pitched for the Orioles, I believe.
So the trivia question actually was, former Toronto Blue Jay was the 1979 AL Cy Young winner, but for another team, and that's Mike Flanagan. Interesting. That was a very interesting fact you had, that he was related to your guidance counselor. What is it? 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon. So you kind of felt like something like that.
Yeah, and I guess he won the Cy Young Award with Baltimore, I guess. And then I don't know the chronology, how things worked out in terms of time, but Jansen striking out for the second out of the inning, and it brings up the top of the order now for the Blue Jays, Bo Bichette.
Jansen just on top of that ball, kind of just swung above it. Nice pitching, nice recovery inning for Gonzalez.
1-0.
Yeah, Tanner Rourke came out after the rough top of the second, came out in the top of the third, retired the White Sox in order, and not an easy part of the White Sox order, 4, 5, and 6, but got them 3 outs in a row. And then here in the top of the third, after the home run last inning to Lourdes Gurriel Jr., you have the Blue Jays coming back here and looking like now you're a strike away from getting the Blue Jays in order. The 1-2 count is grounded, a swinging bunt up the left field line, and it's missed by the third baseman on the run, Yon Moncada. And Bo Bichette is in there safe at first with what is scored a base hit. I think even if Moncada came up cleanly with that ball, Bichette would have been safe at first.
I agree. It's one of those dead spots in the infield where it's going to be an infield hit almost every time when you got enough speed. And that's what happened there. I'm sure that wasn't Bichette's goal, but it ended up working out for him, and now he's on first with Vlad Jr. up.
Those slow rollers working out for Bichette. In yesterday's game, on the very first pitch of the game to a Blue Jay, Bichette bunted down the left field line and got on base with a leadoff single. So it's interesting that he's finding success with those little infield squibblers in the past few days. And the Blue Jays, not a team that has a lot of speed, but they have some sneaky speed at different parts of this lineup. Bo Bichette is a guy who has some speed. Teoscar Hernandez, a lot of people don't think of him as having speed, but he was a center fielder before traded to the Blue Jays when he was with the Astros. And then Lourdes Gurriel Jr., Randall Grichuk, Kevin Biggio are all guys who might surprise you a little bit with their speed on the base paths. Of course, nothing crazy because the Blue Jays don't really have crazy speed anywhere in their lineup, but it's not as if this team can't run it all.
Yeah, when you have young guys, they're going to be able to run, and speed, it's nice, but hitting is more important. I'd rather have 9 Vlad Juniors than 9 Billy Hamiltons on my team.
And speaking of Vlad Jr., the good eye pays off. He takes a walk down to first. So now the Blue Jays have 2 on with 2 out here in the bottom of the third. And yeah, I would rather have 9 Vlad Juniors than 9 Billy Hamiltons. But I think when you have the opportunity, you can't pass up the opportunity of someone like Malik Smith in your lineup, because obviously I would not have him be a dead spot in the lineup just to get the speed in there. But if you have a semi-productive hitter to go along with great speed on the base paths, it's obviously an asset. But like you said, you got to consider the hitting talent before you consider the speed. Travis Shaw swinging at that one, sending it foul, 0-2.
The one thing you don't want to do is Shaw is chase, because Gonzalez is in trouble this inning, and he's just given up the last 2 guys hits and a walk. Just don't give him something.
Well, he chases on that one. So Travis Shaw chasing it out upstairs and out of the zone. And it helps Gio Gonzalez get out of the inning. And here we go to the top of the 4th. I'm going to hand things over to my booth partner here, Michael. He'll be handling things for the 4th, 5th, and 6th. Take it away.
Thank you, Mark. Jose Abreu up for the 2nd time this game. Roark in his 4th inning of work. First pitch high and inside. As you see, Roark up to 57 pitches. A tough 2nd inning, but got through the 3rd relatively unscathed. See the 2nd pitch, a little high up down the middle, fouled off by Abreu. Evens count 1-1.
Abreu led the American League with 123 RBI last year, but he also led all of baseball last year in terms of grounded into double plays. So a little bit of a 2 sides of the same coin there.
Yeah, it's something he's got to work on as Roark. There's a 3rd pitch for a ball, and the 4th pitch swung on and missed. Inside pitch, Abreu trying to get around on that one, but wasn't able to. 2 inside for him, 2-2. And that ball hit into center field, and Grichuk is under it for the out. 1 out in the inning, and Nomar Mazara coming up, the White Sox right fielder.
And Abreu, obviously not the most speedy guy on the base pass, as we've been talking about speed on the base pass, so it's a little bit easier to get him out when you're turning a double play. But at the same time, he has the power in terms of his bat, and we saw earlier today he hit home run in the 2nd. So, I mean, it's I would take a few grounded into double plays if it meant more home runs and more RBIs.
Yeah, I would too. And the fact that they dropped him in the lineup means he's not going to be in as many pressure situations where he's going to ruin a rally at the top of the lineup. As the second pitch, as it's 1-1 on Mazzara. Mazzara hit a over 500-foot home run last year. He's got power. He was on the Rangers last year. Now on the White Sox, another young player for this team, but another one they acquired in a trade. As that pitch is a ball, and the 2-1 up high for a ball, 3-1. Rourke behind on the 8th hitter in the White Sox lineup with Luis Robert coming up.
Yeah, you mentioned that 500-foot home run. It was 505 feet to be exact. It was against the Chicago White Sox when Mazzara was with the Rangers.
As that ball is grounded to first, and Shaw takes it for the out. 2 outs here in the inning, and Roark kind of having a nice, gentle inning, just like he did last inning after that really just chaotic second for him, and just awful second for him. And you see Luis Robert, the center fielder for the White Sox, up. Not sure how long he'll stay there. You have, I believe it's Adam Engel coming off the DL, I believe in 10 days, so I don't know who's going to be, how they're going to their outfield once that happens. First pitch, strike up high.
Rourke settling down in this inning, this is exactly what he needs. Even if you do have those rough first 1 and 2 innings, settling down and preserving the Blue Jay bullpen, especially as they go into a pivotal series tomorrow against the Yankees, it's important that you preserve it. So Rourke going deep into this game, despite his early struggles, will help the Blue Jays.
And strike 3 on Robert, a low strike, and got him swinging. And we're through middle of the 4th. White Sox up 4-1 here on ML BotBall. Second game of our day. We got lots of great games later. Reds, Dodgers, Sonny Gray versus Jose Urias. We got Giants, Mets, Jeff Samardzija against Steven Matz. And lots of great games going on throughout the day. So stay tuned in even after this game is over. Teoscar Hernandez steps in against Gio Gonzalez. Ball 1 outside a little bit and on the plate. Teoscar Hernandez, 3 home runs in his last 4 games. He's been hot as of late. You can see why the Blue Jays value him so highly. And pitch is a strike, low and in, 1-1 on the bat.
Yeah, and Hernandez is the longest tenured Blue Jay right now. I think it's my favorite fact about the Blue Jays because if you think about Hernandez, I mean, he came over to the Blue Jays in 2017 in a trade deadline acquisition from the Houston Astros, and you don't think of him as a longtime Blue Jay, but in fact, he's the longest tenured Blue Jay on this roster. Anthony Alford, another guy who is technically longer tenured than Teoscar Hernandez, is just in the minors right now, so it doesn't totally count, but the Blue Jays like what they see in Hernandez, and even though he may not be a star of this offense, he's been getting the playing time in right field.
As Hernandez beats the shift, gets it between the first and second baseman for a leadoff single for the Blue Jays. And yeah, as you said, Blue Jays team very young. Hernandez almost bridges the gap between the old team when they were waited to the ALCS and that old team. They kind of get dismantling that to the rebuilding team they have now, the very young team they have now, as Rowdy Tellez steps in for the Blue Jays.
And now is as good a time as ever to remind everyone that we are raising money for RAIN, which raises money and contributes to anti-sexual assault programming, and it's the largest organization of its kind in the U.S., so I encourage you to head on to the link below and donate to keep up their good work over at RAIN.
And definitely donate. We do different causes throughout the season. It always helps a donation to these charities. We're doing this all for free. We're doing this all to kind of because we love baseball. We love broadcasting, and also for a good cause. So if you have some money, just chip in and help for a good cause. As Tellez is down 0-2 against Gio Gonzalez. Fouls off that pitch high, fighting off Gonzalez here. And still runner on first, probably, has some speed, probably not going on this 0-2, but a threat on the base pass. If there's a short ground ball, you may have to go to first.
Nope, that's the ball.
That pitch is high, ball 1. Tellez does not try to chase on that one.
Yeah, we've talked about the speed for the Blue Jays. Hernandez is one of the guys who's had speed, but at the same time, The Blue Jays, as just a general strategy, don't run much. Charlie Montoyo, their manager, coming over from the Rays, seems like he makes a concerted effort and a concerted decision to not have the Blue Jays run all that much. They mostly just stay put and let the hitters do the work.
As Tellez, strike three swinging. Gonzalez's third strikeout of the day. Blue Jays first out of the inning, as you see. Gonzalez, nice pitch inside, a little bit high, and Tellez was not able to make contact with that despite working it to 2-2 count. And now you have Lourdes Gurriel Jr. Hit a solo home run in the second, just inside the foul pole, and looking to do some further damage here as that first pitch called strike one. This is on the inside part of the plate. Gonzalez gets ready, and here's the pitch, and grounds it to first. Lines to first, catches it, but does not get Hernandez, who's diving back to first, almost turned a double play there. Sharply hit line drive, and Blue Jays lucky they didn't hit into double play with that one. But now you got 2 outs. Randall Grichuk up now, had a long fly out in the bottom of the second inning.
Yeah, that looked like disaster off the bat. It looked like to me that it would be caught off the fly, and Lourdes Gurriel Jr., Teoscar Hernandez at first would just be, caught sitting there. And I think it's really smart and heads up of him to, be aware of the situation and be aware of where the ball's heading and dive back into first in time. So a nice heads up play on the base paths by Teoscar Hernandez, and it keeps the Blue Jays in this inning.
Yeah, you're taking a lead, so you're always going to be off the base on that, and luckily he was just able to get in time. But if he started going to second, he would be way out, so good reaction by him, as it's 1-2 right now on Grichuk. That pitch swung on and missed, a little low, a little bit of a chase, but strike three nonetheless. Gonzalez's fourth strikeout of the day. We head to the top of the fifth, and the White Sox are still up 4-1. As we see the top of the White Sox lineup, Leury Garcia, who had a double and scored as well. And he also walked in the second inning. And Wark, facing this top of the lineup for the third time around, which could be a little bit of a struggle, but he has seemed to get into a groove the last 2 innings. It swung on and missed 0-2. And Rourke, he's up to 70 pitches. Probably can go 1 or 2 more innings. But Blue Jays do have a lot of guys in relief, as you said earlier. So that, Montoya is not going to be hesitant to pull him a little bit earlier than maybe usual, as that pitch fell off by Leury Garcia.
Yeah, Rourke is a guy who can go deep into the games, and the Blue Jays, I think, before this season kind of saw him as a guy at the back of the rotation who would just eat up innings, kind of similar to Chase Anderson, and kind of just hold the fort down for a year or two until you have some other prospects coming up, whether it's Anthony Kay, whether it's Simeon Woods-Richardson, whether it's Nate Pearson. But so far this season, he hasn't really fulfilled that role. He's gone above and beyond and has been fantastic for the Blue Jays. Just a little bit of a clunker of a start here, but settling down since the second inning.
Yeah, and it made the Blue Jays window a little bit sooner. You kind of expect them to compete in 2 or 3 years. Maybe you consider them competing next year. They're already above 500. I don't think they'll make the playoffs, but they've been relatively competitive as that pitch was outside and high. Walked the first batter of the inning, which, as you know, never good, especially with Tim Anderson and the rest of this White Sox lineup coming up. Anderson drove in Garcia with a double last time into the right center field gap. This is a great season for him, almost around a 1,000 OPS, which is outstanding for him. As that first pitch is low and outside, grounded to third, barehanded by Guerrero. There's second onto first, but not in time. The Blue Jays get a force out. Anderson too fast for them to turn 2. But a nice play by Guerrero with that nice barehand throw to second on the run.
Yeah, at least you get the leading runner in that situation. I just want to go back to what you were saying with the Blue Jays, being above 500 this year. Kind of surprising a few people and surprising myself, honestly, after we saw how they were doing coming into the month of June. But, if you had the Blue Jays in a different division than the AL East, and of course the AL East, the Yankees leading this division with 52 wins, if you put the Blue Jays, say, in the AL West, you have the Athletics that are leading things 48 and 39, but then the Blue Jays wouldn't be that far back at 44 and 42. In fact, they'd be in second place, only a handful of games back. So this team is better maybe than a lot of people perceive.
As that ball is pitched out, and they get Anderson at second. They expected Anderson running. Nice throw, nice tag. And Anderson is a sitting duck. And now 2 outs in the inning. I did look like a hit and run there, just a straight up steal, and the Blue Jays saw it coming. The ground ball to second, thrown on to first by Biggio, and another scoreless inning for Roark. Nice recovery by him. We head to the bottom of the 5th. White Sox still up 4-1.
Yeah, and even though Roark did give up that walk to start off the inning, he eventually got the batters in order with that caught stealing. So that's 3 straight innings for him where he sent down the batters in order and faced the minimum. So again, he's settling down nicely into this game, and Charlie Montoyo might as well just ride him to see how long he can go without making a mistake.
And as you see, Vlad Guerrero up here. Nice play last inning, and Blue Jays got in the middle of that lineup. They're hoping to scratch 1 or 2 more off Gonzalez during this inning, and Gonzalez only has 60 pitches, so it looks like he can go for a few more innings as long as he doesn't get into trouble here. The White Sox do have a lot of guys in their bullpen they can still use. And you see Kevin Biggio up, not Vlad Guerrero. Saw Vlad Guerrero on the screen. I thought he was up, but must have been some Heidi Watney talking about his interesting thing, putting him in the 2-hole, hitting a little bit more for average this year rather than power. As that first pitch was a ball. This pitch fouled away onto the left side down the line and gets into the stands.
Yeah, part of the Blue Jays' more recent success is their rejigging of the lineup. It was towards the beginning of June where they, shook things up. They moved around the normal placement. They had Bichette, Biggio, Gurriel, and then Guerrero, but they shook things up. They kept Bichette at the leadoff spot, but moved up Guerrero, moved up Shaw, and that really sparked a lot of changes, and so far it's been working for the Blue Jays.
And swing and a miss for Biggio. Another strikeout for Gonzalez, and Biggio continuing his struggle after a nice game yesterday. Chased it a little bit, but close enough where it may have been called a strike if he didn't swing. Now Danny Jansen up again, struck out in the 3rd inning of this game.
1-0.
That ball is low. Ball 1 on a changeup.
This is something that might surprise a few Blue Jay fans. Danny Jansen, we saw a flash on the screen, 10 home runs this year. Vladimir Guerrero Jr., I believe, has 9 home runs this year. I don't think anyone coming into this season thought Danny Jansen would be hitting better in terms of power than Vladimir Guerrero Jr., but that's just the way things have gone this year.
I mean, Vlad, he has a lot of power, but if he doesn't hit home runs, he doesn't hit home runs. As long as he's driving the ball. I remember the Yankees fans last year complaining about Aaron Judge always going to opposite field. But he was hitting. He was more disciplined at the plate. Maybe not hitting 50 home runs, but he seemed like a better hitter just overall. That pitch was high, 2-2. And the pitch low, 3-2. Bo Bichette up Bichette up next on deck, and a 3-2 pitch for the 9-hitter in the Blue Jays lineup. And hit into right field, and it is going to be caught by Nomar Mazara. And gave it a little bit of a drive, but another running catch by the White Sox. And they're 2-away in the inning with Bo Bichette coming up for his 3rd appearance.
Yeah, and that 10 home run number for Jansen isn't totally representative of his entire season playing, because he did have a 4-game streak where he hit a home run in every single game. So, I mean, it looks impressive, those 10 home runs, and obviously it is impressive, but a lot of it came during that 4-game hot streak, which was, I think, last week or the week before when the Blue Jays were playing in Milwaukee.
As Bichette flies it to right, an easy play for Nomar Mazara, and the White Sox get out of that inning against the bottom of the Blue Jays lineup. We head to the top of the 6th, still 4-1 White Sox, as we see Ryan Barucki in there for the Blue Jays, a long reliever for this team. I guess Roar out of the game, a little bit surprising because he had found his groove, but getting up into the 70s in pitch count, and looks like Montoya will go with Barucki for at least the next two or three innings, unless the Blue Jays can close the gap in this game as he faces the ever so powerful Edwin Encarnacion.
Yeah, well, that's the benefit of having a guy like Barucki in the bullpen. He's built as a starter. He came up in the Blue Jays organization as a starter. Not really that much room for him in the rotation right now with the success of course, Ryu, Shoemaker, as we saw earlier today, not so much, but Rourke and Anderson and Pearson and all these guys who would be in the rotation before him. But at the same time, he's found success in the bullpen as a long man for the Blue Jays.
Yeah, now facing a little bit of competition, you have Anthony Kay in the bullpen now. He did give up 2 runs out of the bullpen in the first game of that series, but he's another guy who can go long, although I'm not sure how the Blue Jays want to use him fully because he didn't, you already got a long reliever. Maybe you use him more for one-inning things and see just how his stuff can work when it's more concentrated, as that ball's fouled off by Encarnacion, down 1-2 to Barucki. Pitch, and swung and grounded to third. Guerrero runs and gets it and fires to first and easily gets the pretty slow Edwin Encarnacion for the first out of the inning.
Chicago, the left fielder, Eloy Jimenez.
And you see in the Blue Jays bullpen, you got right-handed pitcher Trent Thornton, and as I mentioned before, Anthony Kay. As you see Eloy Jimenez, you see his home run in the second inning, absolutely crushed 410 feet, and gave the White Sox a 1-0 lead, which they later scored 3 runs in that inning, one on a 2-run homer and one on a double, but did get out in his last appearance, an ever-dangerous hitter, which is this entire lineup. As you see the bullpen there, got a righty, you got a lefty. Maybe they try to go matchup based. Maybe they're just basing it on how the Blue Jays hit next inning. But I think they'll keep Barucki in, at least for this inning, maybe even longer, as that pitch is low, ball 1, evens the count, 1-1.
Yeah, and talking about Barucki being a long man out of the bullpen, both those guys warming are also traditionally starters. Trent Thornton started a lot for the Blue Jays last year, probably, I would say, one of the better starters of last season. And then Anthony Kay coming over from the Mets, he's built as a starter. So you have all these guys out of the Blue Jays bullpen that are finding success as relievers, but are built as starters. So it gives you a little bit more flexibility in terms of how long you can use pitchers, although they have more shifted towards using Barucki in shorter instances, actually. And I think Kay, they've tried to use a little bit longer.
Yeah, you think they may be priming Kay for some starting appearance, maybe later in the year if the Blue Jays are out of it. Obviously, a young prospect, one of the top prospects for the Blue Jays. Big potential for him as that pitch is swung on and missed by Jimenez. Second out of the inning as Yasmani Grandal steps in a single and scored on a home run to a blast by Jose Abreu in the second inning. That first pitch is strike 1. Nice pitch by him, just crossing the zone on that curveball and hit the inside corner.
And Grandal, this is his first year in the American League, but he's second in AL catcher voting, so a good year for him, of course. He spent previous 8 years of his career, total of 879 games in the National League. That was with the Padres, the Dodgers, and last year the Brewers, before coming over to the White Sox this year.
Yeah, and Grandal got a nice hefty deal, 4 years, so he's going to be with them for a little while. Get to see this team improve even more, and one of the big signings for the White Sox this offseason, and has paid off as that hits 1 and 2. And now this pitch swung on to right field, and it's going to be dropped in right in front of Hernandez, and a 2-out hit for Grandal. As you see, batting average leaders entering play. The White Sox are 4th in the American League, And Blue Jays are not on this list. They a little bit more reliant on pitching, but they have hit as well recently as Jose Abreu steps in, dangerous hitter, and another shot to left field. He's waving it, and it's gone. A second home run for Jose Abreu. Not as far hit, but gone, long gone, and the White Sox now up 6-1. Not what you wanted there out of Baraki, putting him in. And Abreu 17th on the year, and scores Grandal, and Baraki almost out of the inning, but that one absolutely crushed.
Well, that was just a carbon copy of Abreu's first home run. He was waving his first home run fair as well, and it was just fair enough to go out. And then this one, a carbon copy, just fair enough to go out with Abreu waving it fair. And just like that, the White Sox are tallying on more here.
And Mazara hits it down the left field line and fair, and he gets a double. Another base runner. You got to see how long Baraki gets to stay there. And maybe just be a sacrificial lamb now. It's a 5-run game, but you don't want to put him in there for too long, because maybe if the Blue Jays start scoring runs, you don't want to regret it. That you kept him in too long, but to see it went nice opposite field hit for Mazara, who's kind of known for pulling the ball a lot, but nice hit there, and you got another runner on second with Luis Robert up again. And that pitch grounds it to the pitcher, and Baraki will take it and fire to first, and 3 outs in the inning, but not before Jose Abreu hit his second home run of the day. 6-1 White Sox. We head to the bottom of this sixth, with the middle of the Blue Jays lineup up, and now it'll be Vladimir Guerrero Jr. hitting, as opposed to earlier when it was actually Kevin Biggio.
That was interesting, the last half inning. Ryan Brecke got the first 2 outs pretty much no problem. He had a ground out to this guy who's batting now, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., and then a strikeout of Eloy Jimenez. And then, just like that, in a matter of seconds, things turned around. Yasmani Grandal with a single, Jose Abreu with the home run, and then a double that didn't eventually come around to score from Nomar Mazara. So things turned around really fast for Ryan Brecke, and he has been successful this year out of the bullpen, but struggling a little bit in today's end.
Guerrero hits it down the line, and fair, and he gets into second for the double. Went up against the left wall, almost identical in terms of the placement to Mazara's double, and his 22nd double on the year. And the White Sox they've been hitting very well today, and you can see why. I mean, they've beaten Blue Jays. That was their first win yesterday against the White Sox all season. They had lost their first 5 before, so White Sox have half the Blue Jays number, and Ryu, obviously a great pitcher, kind of defied that. But White Sox have they've crushed the Blue Jays. Even with Blue Jays hot, White Sox are an amazing team, and they're fighting for that playoff spot. As Travis Shaw steps in with a runner on second, no outs, we just have an opportunity here to maybe tack on a run, get back into it a little bit. That first pitch is outside for a ball.
Yeah, and if it's any solace for Blue Jay fans, the White Sox have crushed everyone this year. I mean, as I said earlier, they're one of 5 teams in Major League Baseball with 55 or more wins, and 3 of those teams are in the AL Central. So you can only imagine how good this White Sox team would be, also how good the Twins would be, how good Cleveland would be if they weren't playing each other all the time, if they didn't have to play this really good competition. So the White Sox, one of the best teams in baseball right now, if not the best. So, I mean, you can't really feel bad as a Blue Jay fan for losing 5 games coming into yesterday's game against the White Sox.
It's weird. You may have the 3 best records in the AL, and then one of those teams can be out in 1 game. The other 2 teams will be facing each other. The Yankees aren't too far behind, but it happened a few years ago with the A's and the Yankees playing the wild card game, and then the Red Sox having the best record in the league. Could happen again this year. The AL Central, surprisingly very good after last year kind of being a little bit mocked for quality of their teams. But White Sox have an outstanding year, their best year in a long, long time. Last time they had a winning season, I believe, was 2012, and last time they made the playoffs was 2009. I remember writing down my notes. I believe that's what it was. And maybe manager of the year candidate, Renteria for the White Sox. 2-2 on Shaw. Gonzalez over 80 pitches right now. And swung on and missed by Shaw. And 1 out in the inning. 6 strikeout of the day for Gonzalez.
Now batting, the right fielder.
Shaw not having a very good day. 2 strikeouts and a ground out right back to the pitcher for him today. And then yesterday, he did have a single, he did have a walk, but we aren't seeing the sort of fireworks that we saw earlier this year from him, so he might be cooling down a little bit after his amazing performance earlier this year in the month of June, where he was the player of the month for the Blue Jays.
Oscar Hernandez steps in. First ball, a strike on the lower half of the plate. Hernandez 1 for 2 in this game, had a single in the 4th inning, and has a runner in scoring position. This will likely score Guerrero here. The pitch fouled off to the right side, almost caught by the ball boy. As you see, Hernandez signed out of Dominican Republic, one of the international signings for the Blue Jays on this team. A few of them sprinkled throughout their roster.
1-2.
We have Jimmy Cordero and Jay Spry, a righty and a lefty for the White Sox, warming up. In case Gonzalez may be getting into trouble. He's already over 80 pitches, and if maybe a home run here may knock him out. You want to keep that the Blue Jays out of arm's reach. That ball grounded third hard and goes for wild, but still gets the pretty speedy Hernandez. But yeah, sharp ground ball, so kind of the reason that he was out on that, but not a great throw there by Moncada, and even though he had a good amount of time, Stratus Velez stepped into the plate 0-2 on the day.
Yeah, well, it was a hard hit ball, and it kind of snuck up on Moncada over there at third, and again, he really hurried with that throw, and he probably could have taken a little bit more time and paused for a second, lined himself up, gotten a good grip, and thrown it on to first. But I mean, regardless, apples or oranges, you still get the out at first, so and you still hold the runner at second in the form of Vladimir Guerrero Jr. So I don't know how much you can complain about that play.
As grounds that one foul down the first base side, and Gonzalez already almost up to 90 pitches. Could be his last inning. Maybe they'll try to squeeze one more inning out of him. But nice overall day, as that pitch says it was. Looks like he said he swung. 1-2 count, and White Sox fans on their feet at their houses, maybe some in the stadium, as that pitch just misses up high. 2-2. Nice patience for Tellez.
Yeah, it's a really good performance out here today for Gio Gonzalez. He entered today with a 3.31 ERA.
One is swung on and missed, inside changeup, and Gonzalez gets out of the 6th inning after a no-out double by Guerrero. We head to the 7th inning, and we'll turn it back to Mark for the play-by-play.
Yeah, well, as I was saying, Gio Gonzalez with that strikeout, a good day for him. Even if his day is over, he entered today with 3.31 ERA, 9-4 record for the White Sox, and just really showing up today, going at least 6 innings and giving up only 1 run to the Blue Jays on a solo shot to Lourdes Gurriel Jr. So a strong day for him on the mound, as this one is skied into right field. Teoscar Hernandez makes the catch.
The batter, number 7.
Blue Jays keep Rookie in the game. Down by 5 now, so you're not going to put in your high leverage guys. Maybe you put in K at one point if maybe next inning, but they're keeping Rookie in there. Only 20 pitches, so he can go a little bit longer.
This one sent right back the middle, almost goes through Barucki's legs, but manages to squeeze all the way through to Grishik. And it's a single here for Tim Anderson, who extended his hit streak to 38 games earlier in this game and keeps the hits coming. He had a fielder's choice and was on base in the 5th, and now on base again with a single there. And I just want to talk about the history of a 38-game hit streak, because he is now tied for 8th all-time in Major League Baseball with that 38-game hit streak. The last person to be 8th, or excuse me, to have a 38-game hit streak was Jimmy Rollins, of course, of the Phillies, who did it in 2005, 2006, split it between the 2 seasons. But it's a really impressive feat by Anderson so far here in this season.
Yeah, and, very impressive. I still don't think he's going to get too much farther. It's a long way to go for the record And lots of great pitchers in in all the baseball that could shut out the White Sox one game. You see that ball? They turned two. It looks like they did on that one.
And that's almost a carbon copy of a play we saw earlier on the side of the Blue Jays when they were on base. And a good play, a good line out, and tag him out as we see a new pitcher coming in for the Chicago White Sox. Jimmy Cordero, 37th game this season, and 2 innings out of the bullpen. Lourdes Gurriel Jr. has a 1 run in for the Blue Jays today. That solo shot in the 2nd inning, and he'll be looking to kickstart things here again today as the Blue Jays are down to their final 3 innings to get anything done here in today's game.
And the bottom lineup did have some nice swings earlier in this game. So now's the time. You later in the game, you're going to get even better relievers to the White Sox. So now's the time to try to scratch something here, get a rally, start getting some hits, start getting some guys on. You just want to be patient here. You don't want to be giving these guys easy outs.
Gurriel had the home run, of course, in the 2nd. That made it 4-1. And then in the 4th inning, he had the line out to third base. And it's the play we were talking about, if I can remember correctly. Teoscar Hernandez was on first, and Lourdes Gurriel Jr. lined out to the first baseman for the Chicago White Sox, Jose Abreu, and he almost got the tag in on Teoscar Hernandez, but Hernandez kept his head up and dove right back in before the tag could be applied. Fouled off by Gurriel, 2-2.
Gurriel just fighting it off late on the fastball. Off speed, maybe he's kind of, looking for that and just fouling off the fastball, but right, and looks like he did. He missed that off-speed pitch right there, though.
Lots of strikeouts for the Blue Jays today. The line is closed now on Gio Gonzalez. We talked a little bit about it earlier. 6 innings, 1 run allowed, and a handful of strikeouts as I count through them now. 2 in the 3rd, 2 in the 4th for 4 total, 1 in the 5th, 5 total, so 7 total on the day, plus 2 in the 6th. So a good day for him, and Jimmy Cordero continuing the strikeouts of the Blue Jays with a strikeout here of Lourdes Gurriel Jr. now facing Randall Grichuk with an 0-1 count.
Yeah, to EB, and he kind of said, despite the fact the Blue Jays are doing good, they haven't really faced much of a test, and this is kind of their first big test. Besides that race series, they faced a lot of bad teams. This is a test for them, and they're going to have a little bit tougher schedule. So, they had that, hot streak, but it may have just been based on the opponents they're playing, as they're about to drop this series against the White Sox. And, not an easy road ahead to getting back into the playoffs.
This one is a dropped 3rd strike, but the throw down to first in time. So another strikeout for the Blue Jays. And yeah, that's exactly right. The Blue Jays have been doing really well, but it's not like they've faced a lot of a challenge. But coming into this series, coming into the next series now against the Yankees, of course, against the White Sox here, they're being tested a little bit more than they have in the past. They're putting their hot streak up against some of the best teams in baseball with a 55 wins on the season, 52 wins on the season for the Yankees. So it will be a trying few days for the Blue Jays to see if they can keep this momentum going. But of course, they could win this game. It's not out of their hands yet. If they win this game, they come away with a series win. They're then 45-42 on the year. And then they have the momentum going into the Yankees series, where the Yankees, they are a good team, but they're not in the same class as the White Sox, the Twins. Of course, the Blue Jays facing the Twins next week, so another potential challenge there. But I don't think it's impossible for them to keep going through this streak of games with their hot streak continuing. But Gavin Biggio striking out there for the striking out of the side for Jimmy Cordero coming into the bullpen.
Yeah, the Blue Jays, they also have to face a lot of good starting pitchers. I mean, when they faced the Rays, they did beat up on Charlie Morton. A little bit surprising, but, we had to face Gonzalez today. You had to face Giolito in the first game of the series. You're going to face Cole in the Yankees series. So, some tough, starters, and it's going to test, how good this lineup actually is. I know they've been good recently, but, when you're facing an ace, or even like a really solid 2-pitcher, how are you going to do?
Well, the Blue Jays have had Edwin Encarnacion's number so far this series. Yesterday, he struck out 3 times, didn't get on base, and in today's game, he's also over 3. No strikeouts, but 2 ground balls, 1 line out to third base. So a rough day for him, a rough couple of days for him, and his .324 batting average being held hitless here by the Blue Jays.
Ball back outside.
Of course, coming up after this game, we have the Cincinnati Reds and Los Angeles Dodgers facing off at 3:45, and then 5:30 we have the Giants and the Mets playing at Citi Field in New York, and then 7:15 the Brewers and the Cubs, 9 o'clock Twins and Tigers, and 10:45 Houston and Cleveland as the walk is taken by Edwin Encarnacion. Charlie Morton looking upset on the bench.
Yeah, I mean, with this late in the game, and it's a 5-run game, umpires should expand their zone a little bit. And Barucki, he wanted that pitch. You don't want to walk the 4-hitter. Encarnacion has struggled today, and to face guys who have hit well today. Jimenez with a home run, Abreu with 2 home runs. So not easy batters coming up for Barucki.
Barucki with the pitch, lands it in the strike zone, 0-2. And Barucki, after giving up that home run in the 6th, has held the White Sox scoreless through a 1-2-3 7th, despite the single in the 7th. Of course, the double play that we saw there last inning, and then in the 6th, he gave up the home run, a double, but then got the final out. This one is grounded on the left side of the infield. Bichette bobbles it, and he can't get it to first in time. He runs past the ball trying to field it. It scored a base hit nonetheless for Eloy Jimenez, and that'll bring up Yasmani Grandal.
Huge. I mean, you go from no out, go from possible 2 outs, no runners on, maybe 1 out, 1 runner on, to no outs, 2 runners on, and now they have to change to Wilmer Font, former Mets reliever, former many teams relievers.
Yeah, this is a little bit of journeyman on the mound, of course, formerly of the Rays, you mentioned formerly of the Mets. Bounced around a little bit, finding a home here with the Blue Jays last season and this season, and has been a steady hand out of the bullpen. We'll see what he does here, see if he can hold the runners on as Ryan Barucki's day is done.
Barucki already gave up 2 runs and possibly on the line for 2 more, depending on how Font does. So not a great appearance out of the bullpen for him, although one of those shouldn't be earned due to the fact that Bichette did cost at least 1 out to the Blue Jays last at bat.
This one sent up the middle. Biggio will run to second, run to first with the throw, and they get the double play. The runner will advance to third. Edwin Encarnacion standing in there for the White Sox, but a smooth double play and a nice play from Biggio will put the Blue Jays in an advantageous situation as we flash back to the 5th inning.
Yeah, and Abreu obviously does 2 home runs today, but nice, smart play by Biggio, just taking it himself. Grandal's not a fast runner, so you could take it yourself and get the guy first rather than trying to flip it. There could be something that goes wrong. Bichette maybe in his head after that, error last play. So just take it yourself, get the 2 outs, runner on third, but get the guy out. You're out of that inning.
2-0 count now, starting off Abreu.
I don't want to get behind Abreu here. Maybe you just walk him here. I mean, he already has 2 home runs. You don't want to give up a third. Abreu seems to be seeing the ball very well today.
2 balls, 1 strike, the count.
Obviously a very potent bat, and yeah, it might be smart to just dance around him, walk him, especially because you have the space on the base paths. If you put him onto first, you can get the fielder's choice for the 3rd out of the inning, so it might be wise to just dance around him and walk him, as the Blue Jays seem intent on doing that with a 3-1 count now. taken outside, so Abreu does indeed walk by the hands of Wilmer Font. Now the White Sox, with a runner on first and third, 90 feet away with 2 outs. They'll be looking to add some more runs here with Nomar Mazara coming up to bat.
Yeah, and it made sense to kind of just pitch around Abreu. Another home run puts it even more out of reach, and Mazara has 1 hit today, but not as threatening of a hitter as Abreu, at least this game.
1-0.
Right now, I think for the White Sox, Abreu is probably the player of the game, since he has scored 4 runs for you on 2 home runs, both of them, of course, being 2-run home runs. So it's a good day for him at the plate, and I would much rather face Nomar Mazara than Jose Abreu, and it looks like Wilmer Font agrees with us. He's now 1-1 on Mazara.
And you can't hit into the double play if the ball is not in the ballpark. So I guess that was a little bit of a strategy for Abreu today, a guy who's notorious for hitting into double plays.
This one's fouled off. The White Sox looking to become one of 3 teams in Major League Baseball to have 56 or more wins, and looking to close in on the Twins. They're right now 1 game back in the AL Central. I've lost connection, but I've just got it back. Sorry about that. Didn't totally see what happened, but it looks like we're out of the inning, now heading to the bottom of the 8th.
Yeah, just a casual fly ball to left, but gets out of the inning for Font out of that first and second, no outs out of the lineup. See Danny Jansen up to blue good.
Yeah, nice job by Font to come in and handle the situation well, get out of the inning without allowing a run, without allowing the White Sox to tack on more here in the late innings. And of course, at this point, a comeback isn't very likely, but it leaves open the possibility at least. So good job by Font coming out of the bullpen and handling the mess made by Ryan Brook.
Ball 1. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Danny Jansen held hitless today in his 2 at-bats.
And a quick little bit of baseball news. Tyson Ross, brother Joe Ross, who's also sitting out. Tyson Ross will also sit out this season. He was a free agent. May have got signed by a team with some players sitting out, but tries to sit out this season. Both their parents are working in the medical field. One's a doctor, one's a nurse, so could have influenced their decision, kind of knowing the risks even more than maybe the casual player would know.
It's interesting to see as the news trickles in of what players are deciding to opt out as Danny Jansen takes the leadoff walk. And of course, opting out, it's a very personal decision. It's about your own evaluation of the risks of playing this season versus the rewards. And I don't think anyone is owing any disrespect or offense to any players who choose to opt out, because it is ultimately about their own safety, about the safety of their families. And we don't know the full picture, and I totally respect or even applaud someone who does choose to opt out and decides to take the safe route rather than the route that might make them money, but in the long run might not be worth it.
Oh, that's just good.
Bo Bichette will try to keep things going here in the 8th as Danny Jansen has a chance to score with none out.
Yeah, and you also have to remember, if a player gets COVID, depending on how severe it is, they may have affected their lungs. So even if they're recovered from the illness, they may not be able to play baseball normal way. Maybe they could DH, but may not be able to run the same way. And if you have, I believe it's like 70% lung capacity some people have had, it's going to be hard to play baseball that way. So it could be even longer than the kind of 14-day recovery time if the player does come down with COVID during the season.
Right, these are athletes that are at the top of the game, and if you have, a disease that gets your lung capacity down, that, maybe forces you to lose weight over a you mentioned not just 14-day period, but sometimes it can span for months. So that doesn't just have implications for this year, but for your whole career. So again, no disrespect, and of course, a ton of respect for players who choose to opt out and look at things perhaps more rationally than us fans might be prone to. But Bo Bichette is trying here with a full count to get on base, keep the game going for the Blue Jays, and get a run in here in the 8th inning. The 3-2 pitch is swung on and fouled off. We'll do this again.
We are already up to 28 pitches. Not sure how much longer he goes if he starts getting into trouble this inning. You got a lot. The rest of the arms of the White Sox bullpen is available. Walks Bichette here. Runners first and second, no outs. So bit of trouble here for Cordero. Pitched very well last inning, struck out the side, but now getting into some trouble with this top of the Blue Jays lineup.
It's interesting that he's sticking in here to face Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Personally, if I was a manager, I would have taken him out after the back-to-back walks. He didn't pitch in yesterday's game, but he did pitch the day before in the opener of this 3-game series, so he is a little bit well-rested, but not showing it here with back-to-back walks to lead off the inning. Fouled off by Guerrero.
The pitch right down the middle. Kind of lucky that Guerrero wasn't looking fastball, or else maybe a 6-4 game.
And this one is popped up. It's deep into left center field. This one's going back, and it is gone. A 3-run home run for the Toronto Blue Jays off the bat of Vladimir Guerrero Jr. It just got over the wall, but it is just what the Blue Jays needed. It's now a 2-run ball game here in the 8th inning.
Yeah, when you leave a pitch high and you just throw a ball down the middle, the hitter is going to be aggressive. Guerrero aggressive there. A vicious swing on that, and absolutely smashed. And now it's a game. It's a game again. And you have to wonder some plays. Keeping in Cordero in there, is it going to come to bite the White Sox in the butt?
Yeah, well, it also is a two-person discussion with that question, because the Blue Jays had some interesting decisions on their side of things in terms of their bullpen. They brought out Ryan Brucke. Ryan Brucke giving up that 2-run home run. If he doesn't give up that 2-run home run, it's a tied ball game right now. At the same time, you have to credit Charlie Montoyo and Wilmer Font for coming out and holding the Chicago White Sox in the top half of this inning off the base pass, or at least off of home plate when they had a run just 90 feet away, and that makes it a 2-run ball game. So there's an interesting discussion to be had about both of these sides and both of these managers in terms of the relievers in this game.
And also with Roark not taking him out of the game when he probably had 1 or 2 innings left, but deciding he had enough, even though he kind of had settled down, and also not mound visiting him in the second, not giving him a mound visit in the second inning when he was struggling badly. So questionable decision by both managers, but with 6-4 game, with 6 outs left, or 5 outs left now for the Blue Jays, try to scratch a few more on the board.
Yeah, the Blue Jays can make all of those questions we're asking null and void if they can pick up another 2 or, of course, 3 runs to win this ball game. And if they do, we'll be talking about how smart the Blue Jays are and how smart Charlie Montoyo is and how good this offense is. But if not, we'll be questioning them endlessly. And if they come back to win this game, we're going to be questioning the White Sox. So we'll see what happens here. Teoscar Hernandez, a single already today, is coming up now, looking to get another run in for the Blue Jays, or at least get on base and pass the baton on to Rowdy Tellez.
Nope.
Aaron Bummer coming in here with his 6 pitches so far today and starts off Fernandez 2-0. Called strike. Looks like it could have been outside the strike zone. That sinker in there for 95 miles an hour. It's now 2-1 on Hernandez. Hernandez with a home run and a single in yesterday's game. Swings and misses at that low pitch. just in the strike zone at the bottom part of the zone. Hernandez fighting on it. Doesn't get a piece of it. So just like that, Bummer comes in and is a bummer for this Blue Jay lineup. Back-to-back strikeouts. And now there's 2 outs.
Stole the pun right out of my mouth. I was about to say, bummer for Blue Jays fans, and then you're like, you got it. So, yeah, no, Bummer's coming in and just quieting these Blue Jays staff. Who, had that very rowdy start of the inning, as Rowdy is up.
1-1.
Tellez has not been on base today. He had a long fly ball into left field in the second. But that's it for him today.
I got to count 1 and 2.
Big cut there, 1 and 2. And another big swing, and it's back-to-back-to-back strikeouts for Aaron Bummer coming into this game. The Blue Jays with a home run from Vladimir Guerrero Jr. tack on 3 here in the 8th inning, but they're still trailing by 2. We'll see if any of that changes here. Now in the 9th with Luis Robert, the number 9 batter, coming up, and Wilmer Font staying in the game.
Ball.
Font now at 15 pitches, gets a swinging strike of Robert.
We're tied Jansen in home runs last inning. Still only 10 in the season, but you can see that power is still there for Guerrero. It's just maybe in just the spot of the order, he's kind of taking a different approach.
1 ball, 2 strikes.
Swing and a miss now, 1 and 2.
Got quickly through last inning, so he could go this entire inning, and it'll save the Blue Jays a bullpen arm.
That's the ball.
Wilmer Font last pitched in the opener of this series on the 30th, but didn't pitch in yesterday's game, of course. Ken Giles, the closer, who you may have come out if this game goes into extras, did pitch in yesterday's game as Teoscar Hernandez makes that catch on the run for the first out of the inning.
It's nice having just an athletic overall outfield. Usually you kind of maybe put a slower guy in right field for some teams, but the fact that you have so many athletic outfielders, maybe you could put a guy like Hernandez in there who's maybe the fastest guy in this Blue Jays team and not sacrifice defense at the other outfield positions.
Font gives this first pitch swinging, again driven into right field. Hernandez right on the warning track makes the catch. So 2 fly balls, 2 outs now, and there's 1 out left for the White Sox, who look to tack on to their runs and perhaps make it a little bit harder for the Blue Jays to come back in the bottom half of this 9th inning. They're going to have to get the last out from Tim Anderson, the ever-potent guy in this lineup. He entered today's game batting .351. Has only increased his batting average here today with 2 hits, extending his hitting streak to 38 games, the 8th longest streak in Major League Baseball history.
Yeah, and Anderson and Encarnacion both up there with like most statistical categories for hitting. So you have to wonder who's the better hitter, at least for this season. I think overall, you want Anderson to be a better hitter in the future, but both having great seasons. Anderson having the better game, though, but he does ground out there.
Yeah, so they get the ground out, and they end the inning as we look at the 10 hits for the White Sox, 5 hits for the Blue Jays. And the Blue Jays with Gurriel leading it off. We'll be looking for some late inning magic here against the new reliever into pitch, Alex Colomé.
And the White Sox, using Colomé as the closer. Not too great of a season. The season ERA is pretty high for a closer. Usually you want it below 250, below 3 at least. But White Sox have stuck with him throughout the whole year, and obviously you see by the record, it hasn't. It's still worked out for them overall.
Colomé starts Gurriel off with the ball. Big cut from Gurriel sends it foul. Aaron Bummer might be the hero of this game for the White Sox out of the bullpen. He stopped the bleeding in the 8th, came out, got 3 consecutive strikeouts, and washed his hands, and that was it for today's game for him. But it's a good day for him, of course, out of the bullpen. The White Sox now going to Colomé, and quickly 2-2 now on Gurriel.
And although Bummer may be the hero, I'd say, player of the game, my vote at least, is going to be Abreu. 2 home runs, drove in 4 of these White Sox runs, and just a great game for him overall. Drove in Grandal twice, I believe, this game.
Yeah, certainly the player of the game, Jose Abreu, with 2 home runs, as this ball is driven into the left field corner. It's over the wall. Another scraping home run for Lourdes Gurriel Jr. And you can read it on the Jumbotron. It is out of here. A carbon copy again of his home run earlier in today's game. And just like that, it is a 1-run ball game. Randall Grichuk, the tying run, coming to the plate next.
Yeah, and that ball was supposed to kind of move a little bit more, kind of hung up in the zone down low, and nice drive there by Gurriel. And now 1-run game. I may have jinxed it by saying Abreu was playing the game as well as no Red Wings saying that the game is over as well.
Well, Randall Grichuk has his work cut out against him, or for him, excuse me, and of course the pitcher, Colomé, also has his work cut out for him. We'll see what happens here. The Blue Jays have 3 outs to work with. They just need 1 run to tie it, send it into extras, of course 2 to have an electric walk-off win against one of the best teams in Major League Baseball in the Chicago White Sox.
Yeah, and you wonder if they'll pinch hit for Biggio. Not having a great day. You got some options off the bench. See what happens after this batter.
As Grichuk sends this in the air to left field. It's caught quickly by the left fielder, Jimenez, 1 down.
Nice drive there. Another nice, two pretty nicely hit balls in a row, but right to the left fielder there.
It was hit hard, more of a scraper than a fly ball, but just good defensive alignment by the White Sox. Jimenez catching it on the fly. The Blue Jays sticking with Cavan Biggio in the number 9 spot. Might be a little bit of a questionable decision if it doesn't pan out for him in the batter's box.
On the other hand, he's due 0 for 3 today, so maybe now it's time for him to get a hit.
It seemed to work for every other batter in this Blue Jay lineup. As soon as they move them down in the lineup, they start hitting. It worked for Danny Jansen. It worked for Teoscar Hernandez. It worked for Lourdes Gurriel Jr., Randall Grichuk. It hasn't yet worked for Cavan Biggio. This may be a turning point. Of course, Blue Jay fans hoping it's a turning point. It's a swinging strikeout instead. Cavan Biggio going down with a cut here against Alex Colomé. And there is 1 out left now for the Blue Jays to finish up this comeback.
And the cutter, it's just so hard to hit because you kind of expect fastball and then it just gets in on the bat. And Colomé is relying on that a lot here, and now 2 outs after that leadoff home run.
0-1.
Danny Jansen has it all riding on him, needs to either pass the baton or hit it out. And we'll see what he does here. 10 home runs this year for Jansen. Of course, the electrifying streak of 4 consecutive games with a home run last month. We'll see if he can find some of the magic again here.
And Jansen, if you're Jansen, you just want to get a hit. You don't want to have to. You don't need to try to tie the game up because you got the top of the lineup coming up. So you could trust that. You could trust Bichette. You could trust Vlad.
He does have a walk-off home run. Of course, it was about a year ago, a couple of days ago. Celebrated by the Blue Jays on their Instagram and Twitter, and he would love to relive the magic now against the Chicago White Sox. Takes that ball low, so it'll be a full count. Bo Bichette is on deck. The 3-2 pitch from Colomé. Swung on, popped up into left field. Jimenez is under it. He'll camp there and make the catch. And the game is over. The Chicago White Sox hold on to win it 6-5 after the Blue Jays comeback falls 1 run short. And the Chicago White Sox will emerge from this series victors 2-1 in this 3-game series. They're now 56-32 on the year. The Blue Jays falling to 44-43. And it was a good game for both these teams, but the White Sox come out on top.
It looked throughout most of the game like a blowout, but then the Blue Jays started crawling back in there and got within 1 run off a couple of nice home runs. So White Sox do pull off the series victory, but Toronto just missed taking this series from them.
And if you're the Blue Jays, I mean, obviously it's hard to look at this game as anything but a win, or excuse me, a lose for them. But at the same time, I would, if I was Charlie Montoyo, I would encourage my team to find the silver lining in this. I mean, you took 1 out of 3 games against the best team, one of the best teams in baseball, one of the 5 best teams in baseball, and at the same time, you almost took 2 out of 3 with a electrifying comeback in the last game of this 3-game series. And then you're going on to face the New York Yankees tomorrow, and the Yankees are worse than the White Sox. You know, they've won a few fewer games. They haven't been as good all season. So I think the Blue Jays have the ability to turn this loss into something more than it is and look at the bright side and keep the momentum going into their next series against the Yankees as we take a look at some of the highlights here.
That offer, that very explosive second inning for the White Sox.
Jose Abreu, of course, had a home run there, his first of the game, but it would not be his last. That made it 3-0 White Sox early. Tanner Roark struggling in that inning, and then Tim Anderson later in the game extending his hit streak to 38 consecutive games with that double to right field. That made it 4-0 White Sox. That was the last they would score for quite a while until the 6th inning. But the Blue Jays picked up a run with this solo home run from Lourdes Gurriel Jr. in the bottom half of the inning. Also his first of the day, a scraper down the left field line.
You would flip for the Blue Jays, and they hit the ball pretty good that inning and kind of showed they could fall back a little bit after a disappointing second inning.
Jose Abreu scoring what proved to be the winning run for the White Sox with that 2-run home run in the 6th. And that was all she wrote in terms of scoring for the White Sox. But then the Blue Jays tried to crawl back. A big home run from Vladimir Guerrero Jr. in the bottom of the 8th. That made it 6-4. And then another home run, as we see here, from Lourdes Gurriel Jr. into left field. Another scraper and another homer for Gurriel. That made it 6-5. And Gurriel homering 3 times in the last 2 games, but that was it for the Blue Jays as they flied out with their last at-bat to left field. The White Sox holding on for the win. Again, they go to 56-32 on the year. They are now only a half a game back in the Minnesota Twins in the AL Central. We'll see what happens with the Twins game later today. It's scheduled for 9 against the Detroit Tigers.
Yeah, and almost a must-win for the Blue Jays next series. I mean, you're 8.5 games or 8 games back to the Yankees, and if you get swept, you're over 10 games back, and you're below 500. So you need to take at least 2 out of 3. You preferably want to sweep because then you're within 6 games of them. But a big series for the Blue Jays coming up.
Yeah, it is a really important one and a pivotal one for them because I don't think anyone really expects them to win the AL East. And if you don't win the AL East, you have no shot at a wild card because you're competing against the likes of Chicago and Cleveland, who are, just phenomenal. Or I should mention Minnesota if either of these teams takes over the AL Central. So it's really AL East or bust. And I don't think anyone expects the Blue Jays to, come from behind and win in the AL East, but at the same time, if you want this season to be a feel-good season, if you want to end above 500, if you want to be relatively close to the top of the AL East and parlay this season into more success down the line next year, the year after, I think it's important that they do well in this upcoming series against the Yankees, because as you mentioned, if they don't, then they're 10, 11 games back of the Yankees. They're below 500. So it is a really important series coming up.
Yeah, and the White Sox, you're still in a big race, but the good news is you have a lot of cushion. So even if you don't win your division, you're going to be in the wild card. But you obviously want to win that division, so you don't have to face one of these other Central teams and in a wild card game. But the White Sox, a nice performance by Gonzalez. Bullpen did struggle there, so something you maybe want to keep your eye on. But really nice game for Abreu, nice game for Anderson, and a nice game, overall for that team, taking the series victory off a resurgent Blue Jays team.
Yeah, and you mentioned Gio Gonzalez, 6 innings pitched, 1 run allowed, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts, a good start for him. It'll lower his ERA. And then on the other side of things, Tanner Roark giving up 4 runs before leaving the game in the 6th, before the 6th inning. And I mean, I think if we're looking back at this game and we're trying to pinpoint something that the Blue Jays could have changed to do better, I think I would honestly point out the decision to take out Tanner Roark so early, because I think he had settled down. He had retired the minimum in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th after giving up all those runs in the 2nd inning. So I think you could have kept him in for the 6th. His pitch count was fine. You keep him in for the 6th, and then maybe you go to Wilmer Font. Okay, and Wilmer Font is, as we saw in today's game, excellent. So I think if you keep the starter, Tanner Roark, in the game, I think you have the possibility to win this one. So I would pinpoint that as something the Blue Jays could have changed to win this game. At the same time, it's always easier in hindsight to determine what could have won the Blue Jays the game. So I don't think it's totally fair to say, yeah, it's obvious, keep Tanner Roark in. But I think that's something that could have changed, that could have given the Blue Jays a win.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible he stays and then he gets up, does have another 2nd inning almost. So,
right.
But you don't have Ryu pitch, the other day, or yesterday. So you're going to have, not as good starting pitchers against the Yankees, and you're going to have to use this bullpen more. So you kind of want to keep them out there to use less of the bullpen, but they only had to use the 2 guys out of the bullpen, Barucki and Font. So they didn't have to use too much of the bullpen. So they're going to have most arms ready for the Yankees series and a pivotal series for them.
Yeah, we talked about how important this series is, and you mentioned it's the 3 worst starters for the Blue Jays coming out to pitch. You have Chase Anderson, you have Matt Shoemaker, and you have Nate Pearson. All 3 of those, of course, they're doing well this season as we look at some of the pitching stats here, but they're just not quite as good as the top 2 in terms of Tanner Roark and Hyunjin Ryu. Tanner Roark, of course, entering today with a 3.0 ERA exactly, and then Hyunjin Ryu leading the American League with a remarkable 1.63 ERA. So, yeah, it is tough that they do have not their best pitchers starting these games against the Yankees, but that's not to say that these pitchers can't perform. Chase Anderson, Nate Pearson, Matt Shoemaker, they have been solid arms for the Blue Jays, even if they aren't quite as good as the top of this rotation.
My question is it enough? Because you look at that Blue Jays bullpen, some guys overperforming. How long can they keep that performance going? I didn't expect these guys to pitch very well, besides Giles. But a lot of guys stepping up. But you want to get some more length from these starters as the season goes on. Kind of rely less in the bullpen. Maybe even extend Giles. Maybe have to go 4 outs saves for someone. But yeah, no, the pitching. Anderson has been up and down. Pearson has started off well. Last 2 haven't been great. Roark has been great. Ryu has been great. You see Schumacher below 4 ERA, but you see Ryu's amazing numbers. Probably Cy Young frontrunner. You wouldn't disagree with that, right?
No, not at all. I mean, he's leading all-star voting right now, and maybe he slides a little bit in the second half, but right now he has to be your number 1 pick for Cy Young in the American League. The next closest in terms of ERA, last time I checked, in the American League was Ryan Yarbrough of the Rays, who is around 1.9, right? So Ryu is leading him by almost 0.3 of a run. And it doesn't sound like much, but once you get down to 1.6, there's not that much farther you can go. He's just been absolutely phenomenal for the Blue Jays. Their 4-year, $80 million investment this offseason really, really paying off as we look at, again, some of the leaders in for Cy Young Award voting in the American League. Hyojin Ryu, Andrew Heaney for the Angels, and Kenta Maeda pitching for the Twins. The Twins, of course, another great team in the AL Central. They're leading the AL Central by half a game right now. We'll see if that changes tonight at 9 o'clock. Minnesota and Detroit facing off. And then, of course, you look at that ERA, 2.18. Not as good as Hyojin Ryu, and we see Hyojin Ryu at the top of that list. But really, really impressive numbers from him so far this year. Look at the National League as well. Nowhere near the same ERAs as Hyojin Ryu has.
Madison Bumgarner, big surprise this year. Kind of looked like he was on the decline of his career after that dirt bike accident, but signs that Diamondbacks, and it's a big reason why they're competing with this Dodgers for the NL West. Walker Buehler, as you can see, also doing great for the Dodgers. Quickly on Ryu. Ryu had a great season last year. He was the Cy Young front-runner for most of the season, and he kind of tailed off at the end, and DeGrom started got back to his dominant self and just kind of got the Cy Young at the end. So you have to see, can Ryu last the entire season, or is he going to have another tail off at the end? Still will have great numbers either way, even if he tails off a little bit at the end, but something to watch, especially if the Blue Jays start stay hot and find themselves in a pennant race.
For sure, and that's the dream for Blue Jay fans, but the White Sox are living the dream right now. They are half a game back of the Minnesota Twins, and with that, I think we can introduce our broadcasters for the next game. It's the Cincinnati Reds and the Los Angeles Dodgers coming up starting at 3:45, just a few minutes from now, when we have Justin Rock and Mike Man 91 calling this game. Hey guys, how you doing?
I'm great, man. How are you doing today?
Doing pretty well. I'm a little bit bummed by this Blue Jay loss, but it was a good game regardless, so I'm enjoying being in the booth, and I'm looking forward to this game for you guys.
Yeah, it should be a fun one. The Reds going for a 4-game sweep. We were up late last night, Duggo and I calling a Reds-Dodgers game, but the Reds have played really well. Dodgers scuffling, so take or break right now for Dave Roberts' club.
Well, we'll see what happens, but I think Michael and I will sign off, and thank you, Michael, as always, for a very fun game, and good luck, guys.